Hello, it's Sonia here with the Pretty Stitch. Welcome to my channel. If this is your first time joining me, I'm so happy to have you here. So today we are going to be doing another hat project. I'm kind of on a roll with the hats, and I'm actually making hats for charity right now. For my church, we always do a hat mitten tree, and I am in charge of a knit and crochet group at my church, and we are doing a community service project of making hats and just winter type items for the hat mitten tree. So I've been inspired. I hadn't made hats in a while, so I've already made one that you saw recently, and then I made one for a doll, and now we're going to make another one. So I did whip up a prototype here. So here it is. And this one, I really like it, but this one is for a really small head or a child. And I actually want to make the actual pattern a little bit taller. So this is definitely like a beanie style. I want it a little bit, I don't know if it's slouchier, but just a little bit bigger of a hat, longer this way. And this one was made with an eye hook or a 5.5 millimeter hook. So the one I'm going to be showing you, I'm going to be using my J hook or 6 millimeter hook, and I am using gray. So here we go, and I think they're kind of 3 different shades, but this hat's going to require a bit of yardage because we're doing a lot of post stitches, so I'm kind of hoping it's going to be like an ombre effect of gray, because this is out of my stash and I want to try to use what I can out of my stash. So this is the yarn that we're going with. I'm not sure of the brand of this yarn. It's definitely a number 4 or worsted weight. You could definitely use a slightly thicker yarn if you wanted to. I mean, this hat is going to be nice and toasty warm. And this hat will be made bottom up. It is my preferred method of hats. I just prefer that method for myself. I know some people are top-down people, and you know, it's okay. I've made hats side to side. There's different ways of making hats. But why don't we get started? So I've got my J hook here, got my yarn, and I think it's going to look okay with the grays. I mean, they're not completely that much different. So, and the nice thing with this project, it is just a 2-row repeat once you get into it. So there's a couple setup rows. There's actually only 2 setup rows, and then after that, it's a 2-row repeat. All right, so let's get started with this hat. So what we are going to do, so let's get started with this hat. So what we're going to do is work a foundation row of single crochet, and then we'll turn it into a round, and then we'll be working in the round. All right, so we're going to chain 2. So I've got my 2 chains. So to work the foundation single crochet in the second chain from your hook, you're going to pull up a loop. We're going to chain 1. We're going to yarn over and pull through the remaining 2 loops. So right here is your foundation single crochet, or is the little chain we made, and there's the top of the stitch. So we are going to go back in that chain that we made, pull up a loop, chain 1, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. So now we have created 2 foundation single crochet, and we need to work 64 . So I'm going to keep going, working my 64 foundation single crochet, and then I will meet you back. Okay, so here we go. I have my 64 foundation single crochets, and I love foundation single crochets for hats because it's nice and stretchy. It's perfect for a hat band. So now we need to turn this into a circle. So we've just finished. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn. I'm going to run my thumb and index finger down the length of my foundation single crochet, and we are going to join with a slip stitch in that first stitch, and this will complete round 1. And there we go. And so you'll see that it gaps a little bit. So how you'll clean that up is once you're finishing, you're going to take your yarn needle, poke it through that first stitch in the center of that stitch, thread your tail, and just slide it through and it'll cinch it closed and it'll be good. All right, so let's get ready for round 2. So we're going to chain 1 and we're going to double crochet in the next stitch. We're not going to work in this one yet, so we're just working a double crochet. And we're going to keep the hook in the loop. And now we're going to go back, we're going to cross over and work a double crochet in our first stitch. So we've made like an X, and we're going to skip the next stitch here and double crochet in the next. And we're going to repeat this all the way around. So you will have 64 double crochet. So I'm skipping the next and working a double crochet in the next. So this is round 2. Okay, so I'm going to go off camera and I'm going to finish up round 2 and I'll meet you back. Okay, so I have worked my last 2 stitches for round 2. So before I'm going to join, I'm going to place some stitch markers because with this pattern it can get a little tricky until you get familiar with it of where you need to work your stitches. So what I'm going to do is put some stitch markers in. I'm just using scraps of yarn here, and you can certainly use actual stitch markers. I don't have any. I lost them, as I always do. So I'm going to place a stitch marker in my last stitch before joining. So now I'm going to join in this first stitch with a slip stitch. And I'm going to place a stitch marker in the stitch that I joined. So this first stitch right here, I'm placing a stitch marker here. And it will make sense as we get farther along in the pattern. Okay, I am actually going to place one more stitch marker, but I want to work some stitches first. Okay, so we've got the 2 placed. So what we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch in the next stitch. And this is round 3. And this will be part of our repeat. So we're going to chain 1. We are going to work a front post double crochet around the next double crochet. So this one here, we're not going to work in this one yet. So we're going to work front post double crochet around the next stitch. So now we still need to work in front post double crochet around this stitch here. So to do that, we are going to work behind this one here. So we're actually kind of doing like a cabling technique. So I've got my yarn over, I'm working behind this stitch, and I'm going to grab that one there. And you can push these aside, they're very sturdy stitches, so you don't have to worry about messing up your work. And I'm going to work my front post double crochet. So we're still crossing over, just doing it a little bit differently than we did in row 1. So for my third stitch marker, I'm actually going to place it in this last stitch we just made. So this will technically be the stitch we need to join when we get to the end of the row, but sometimes it can kind of sag a little bit and be hard to see. So that's why I like to use a stitch marker to help me mark that stitch. Okay, so let's get the hook in the loop. There we go. Okay, so now we've got the whole stitch marker thing straightened out, and we're going to continue with round 3 here. So we are going to start with our repeat for the round. We're going to skip this next double crochet and work front post double crochet around the next one. And we're now going to work behind and work front post double crochet in the one we skipped. And you're going to repeat this all the way around for round 3. So I skipped the next one, working front post double crochet. So it is a little bit fiddly, but once you get the hang of it, it actually works up pretty quickly. Now I would say that this pattern is probably more of an intermediate pattern. So if you are a straight up beginner, you've never done post stitches before, never done any type of cabling, then this would definitely prove to be a challenge for you. But if you're an experienced crocheter, or you have done a little bit of post stitches and you want to just stretch your skills a little bit, this would definitely be a good pattern for that. Alright, so we're skipping the next, working front post double crochet around the next. And we're going to work our front post double crochet behind. So I can certainly place some links in the description box that goes over post stitches a little bit better if you want to have a little bit more information about them. So I'm going to continue around working round 3 here, and then I will meet you back when we get to these stitch markers, and then I'll show you what we're doing with all those guys. Okay, so now we are at the section with all of these stitch markers. So what we're going to do is we need to finish up this round because we always want to have 64 stitches. So we need to work around this stitch here. So this is where we placed that stitch marker here. So I'm going to pull that guy out and work that front post double crochet around that stitch. And I'm going to work in this one here that we marked. So it's just a little helpful tool so you know where to work, because we're always going to be moving one stitch down with this stitch pattern here. So now I am going to work behind, working that last front post double crochet, and then we need to join in this first stitch, and that's why that is marked, so that we can find it easily, and we'll join that. And so round 2 is complete. So for this stitch pattern, we will be moving down 1, but it should be pretty seamless. So let me show you the sample. So here is the back of the sample. So you really can't see how, the join or anything. So it's very seamless. So don't worry about that. Okay, so we're going to do round 3, but before we do round 3, I highly suggest, actually round 4, I'm sorry, we just finished round 3. Round 4, we're going to mark these stitches again. So I'm going to mark that last one. I'm going to mark where we joined. And then we'll start round 4, and then we'll mark that first stitch too. Now, you don't have to do this. If you can, find where you need to work without a problem, then don't worry about the stitch markers. But if you're struggling a little bit, definitely use the stitch markers. Okay, so let's begin round 4. Round 4, we're going to slip stitch in the next stitch. We're going to chain 1. And we're going to front post double crochet around the next double crochet. And now we are going to work front post double crochet. We're going to work in front. So in front's easy. You just go like that, right in front. Work that stitch. So I'm going to place that other stitch marker right here, that first stitch. Oops, sorry, I bumped the camera. Did not mean to do that. So that stitch is marked. So when we finish this round, we know we need to join there. Okay, so let's continue with round 4. We're going to skip the next stitch and work, actually, sorry. Sometimes the stitches can hide. So you see this here, it's actually kind of crossed over. So there is an actual stitch. So we're skipping this one here, and we're going to work around that one. Because we want it to look like a lattice effect, and it will if you do it right. Okay, so we're going to work in this one now. Work front post double crochet, just working in front. So we're going to skip this one here, And if you're having trouble, you can always turn it this way. You can see the tops of the stitch. So we're skipping that one and we're working in this one here. And working that front post double crochet in front. So I'm going to keep repeating round 4 here, and then I will meet you back. Okay, so I'm at the end of my round 4 here. So we've got all of our crazy stitch markers. So we need to complete this round. So we are going to work in this stitch here. So just pulling that guy out and working that front post double crochet. So now we still need to work in this stitch here. So I'm going to pull that guy out. So there it is. And now we can join in that first stitch with a slip stitch. So what you want to do is you're going to be repeating rounds 3 and 4 until your hat is about 7 or 8 inches. I still need to figure that out because this is the second one that I've made of this, because the other one I thought was just a hair small, so I want to make this one a little bit bigger. So I will let you know, and what you want to do is, doesn't really matter how many rows, but the measurement will matter, and you need to end on a row 3. And then we will start some decreasing to turn this into a hat. So I'm going to go off camera. I'm going to work until this is about 7 or 8 inches, and I will meet you back. Okay, so here we go. I've worked about 7 inches of this hat. So you want to, there we go. See, there's the 7. So it's about 7 inches long. And I did end on a row 3 here. So now we're going to get ready to start doing some decreasing, because obviously we need to turn this into a hat. And I stopped with the stitch markers. If you want to keep using them, you certainly can. I don't need the stitch markers, but I just wanted to show that to you in case it would be helpful for you. All right, so let's get ready to work our first decrease row. So here I finished up a row 3, and what we're going to do is we will slip stitch in the next stitch like we normally do to begin a row 4. So this is going to be a modified version of a row 4. So we're going to chain 1 like normal. We're going to work a front post double crochet like we've been doing. And we are going to work in front and work the front post double crochet in that stitch we skipped. So it's just like a round 4, but this will be a decrease. So there's round 4 with a twist. Okay, so now we are going to, we've worked 2 stitches, so we're going to work 2 more. We're going to keep going like a normal round 4, skipping the next stitch, working front post around the next, and then working in front, going in the one we skipped. So now we've worked 4 stitches. So we are going to keep going. We're going to work 2 more in pattern here, skipping the next stitch, working front post double crochet around the next, and going back in the one we skipped. Okay, so now we are going to do the decrease. So normally we would skip this stitch, work front post double crochet, and then go back and work front post double crochet in the one we skipped. But what we're going to do is we're going to work front post double crochet around both of these stitches. So I'm going to just wrap my hook around both of those guys, and we're working that front post double crochet. And now we're going to start our repeat here for the rest of the round. So we're going to skip the next stitch and work front post double crochet in the next. So we're going to work this in pattern for 6 stitches. So then I'm going back, working in front. So we worked 2. So skip the next one, front post double crochet around the next. So now we have worked 4, and we need to work 2 more. Skip the next, front post double crochet around the next. Now we've worked 6. So now we work our decrease again. So round these 2 stitches, working front post double crochet. And we're just going to do this all the way around for our first decrease round. So I'm going to keep going in pattern and then I will meet you back. Okay, so I'm almost to the end of my decrease round here. So we still need to work 1 more decrease stitch. So here it is. It gets a little tricky to see, but hopefully by now you should be familiar with the pattern. Working these last few stitches, so I'm working that final decrease to complete the first round of our decrease rounds. So then once you're done, you're going to join with a slip stitch and you will have 56 stitches. So we've shrinked down a little bit, but we've still got a ways to go here. Okay, so let's begin our second decrease round. We are going to be repeating round 3, but it's with a twist. It will, like I said, we'll be decreasing, but still working in pattern at the same time. So we'll slip stitch in our next stitch like we've been doing. We're going to chain 1. We'll work a front post double crochet around the next one. And we're going to work behind like we've been doing, working front post double crochet and keeping with our lattice pattern here. Okay, so now we're going to skip the next stitch and work in the next one. So far we're going to have a total of 4 stitches that we've worked. So front post double crochet, working behind and working in that next one. Okay, so now it's going to get a little bit different. So we worked 4 stitches like we normally do in pattern. So what we're going to do is we're going to skip the next stitch and work front post double crochet around the next one. So if you notice, this one is the decrease stitch that we did in the previous round. So you're going to work front post double crochet around that stitch. And now we are going to work behind again in keeping with our pattern. So we have worked a total of 6 stitches. So what we're going to do is we're going to skip this next double crochet. And we're going to skip the next one. So we're going to skip 2 stitches and work front post double crochet around the next. And this is the start of our repeat. So we're skipping 2 stitches, working front post double crochet around the next. And we're going to work behind and work that one. So now we're back working in our regular pattern. So we've skipped an entire stitch here, so that's going to be the decrease, but it really doesn't show up. I mean, you can kind of see it right now, but it'll be okay. So we're back working in pattern. So we worked 2 stitches. We need to work a total of 6, and then we're going to skip. So we skip this next one and work front post double crochet in the next, in keeping with our pattern, our stitch pattern here. So we still want to keep this woven look, and we're going to go behind and work that one. So we've worked 4 stitches. It's part of our repeat. Skip the next. So now we're working around that stitch that our decrease stitch. Front post double crochet, go back and work that one. And then you'll skip 2 stitches, 1, 2. So you're skipping this one. And if it's kind of hard to tell, if you just turn your work like this, you can clearly see we're skipping this one, we're skipping this one, we're working front post double crochet around that one. So 1, 2, that third one, you work that front post double crochet, and that's the beginning of the repeat. So you're going to work in pattern for 6 stitches, and then you skip 2, and then you go back to working in pattern. So I'm going to keep going here, working around, and I will meet you back. Okay, so I'm almost at the end of my round here, of my second decrease round. So I've got this stitch and this stitch. This is that final decrease stitch that we did in the previous round. So we're going to work that front post double crochet, and then we are going to work behind. And at the end of this round, you're going to have 48 stitches. And so now we are going to join, because we're going to skip the final stitch here. So that would be actually right here. We're skipping that one and then just joining as part of the pattern. So there we go. Joining with a slip stitch, and we have completed that next round. So we're getting smaller, but still way too big. Unless you wanted it to be a messy bun hat, then you could certainly just leave it. And also, you don't have to have it as long as this. If you wanted to have a shorter hat, a slouchier hat, you know, you can work as many rounds as you would need until you're ready to close up your hole. But 7 inches I thought was a good, you know, kind of average amount to work. All right, so let's get ready for our third decrease round. So we're gonna slip stitch in the next stitch, chain 1, and now we're going to work in the next double crochet, working our front post double crochet. And again, we are still working in our pattern, our woven pattern, but we're doing it with decreasing. So now we're going to go back and work in the front in that first stitch, working front post double crochet, and we're going to skip the next stitch and work front post double crochet. And now we are going to go back in the one we skipped and work front post double crochet. So now we are back to doing more decreasing. So you're going to work 4 stitches and then we're going to decrease. So we're going to just work like we did in that first decrease row. We're going to work front post double crochet around the next 2. And then we will skip the next stitch here and work front post double crochet around the next. So this is the start of the repeat. You're going to work 4 stitches in pattern and then you will decrease. So there's stitches 1 and 2. So this will be stitch 3. Stitch 4. And now we're going to decrease the next 2. So you're just going to be repeating that all the way around. So I'm going to go do that and I will meet you back. Okay, so we need to finish up our last part of this third round of decrease. So we have to work 1 more decrease. So right here and right here, working those 2 stitches together. And now we're going to join with a slip stitch in our first stitch. So at the end of this round, you're going to have 40 stitches, so we're getting there. So let's get ready for our 4th round of decrease stitches. We're going to slip stitch in the next stitch, chain 1. We're going to work front post double crochet in the next one, and working behind, working still in pattern but decreasing at the same time, working that stitch. And now we're going to skip the next one and work front post double crochet around the next, and working behind. So we worked 4 stitches, and we're going to skip the next 2. So 1, 2, and then this one, work that front post double crochet. And then go back and work in this one here, the second skip stitch. So this is the beginning of the repeat. So you're going to work 4 stitches, and then you're going to skip 2. So you're going to work 4, oops, what am I doing there? So yes, let's work this one. 1, or this is the end of, this is stitch 3 and stitch 4. And then we skip those 2, and then we're back in pattern here. So skipping this one, skipping this one. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we skip 2. So I'm going to keep going around, and then I will meet you back at the end of round 4 of our decrease stitches. Alright, so I have completed my round. We're going to skip that one and then just join in the first stitch. So at the end of our 4th round of decreasing, we are going to have a total of 32 stitches. So let's keep going here. So we're getting smaller, we're getting there. So let's slip stitch in the next stitch. We're going to chain 1, and we're going to work front post double crochet around the next, and then front post double crochet. And now we are going to work our decrease stitch around the next 2. So you're just going to be working 2 stitches in pattern and then decreasing. So skipping the next, working in the next. So we're almost done with this hat here. And now we are going to get ready to decrease. So this round should go pretty quickly, and then at the end of this round you should have 24 stitches. So we're going to skip the next and work in the next, if I did that math correctly. And now we're going to decrease these 2 together. Alright, so I'm going to keep going off camera and finishing up this round, and I will meet you back. Okay, I've got one more decrease stitch for this round. Working these 2 together. And, oops, sorry, my scissors are rocking and rolling over here. Let's move those. So let's work that final decrease. So then at the end of round 5 of our decrease rounds, we're going to have 24 stitches. So I'm going to join, and I'm getting to the end of my yarn ball. I'm like kind of crossing my fingers that I have enough, but I think I will. So we need to do one more round, and then we are going to close up our hole. Okay, so let's finish up our decrease round. So let's slip stitch in the next stitch. We're going to chain 1. We're going to work front post double crochet around the next one. And we're going to work behind and work front post double crochet. And now we are going to skip 2 stitches. So 1, 2, and work our front post double crochet around the next. And then we'll work behind and work in the one that we skipped but not in the other. And we're going to do this all the way around. And then we should have 16 stitches. So we are skipping 2, 1, 2, front post double crochet, and then working behind. The one we skipped. Oops, I'm grabbing the wrong loops. Let's get the right part of the stitch here. So I'm going to go off camera and finish this up, and then I will meet you back and then we will complete the hat. Okay, I have finished up this round. So of course, to complete the round, you're skipping that last stitch and then working that slip stitch. And so now we have this hole that we need to close. I'm going to show you my closed hole method that I like to do. So I have my hook, and you're going to need at least 1 or 2 more hooks, either the same size or slightly smaller. And they should be straight hooks, but if you do have a hook that looks like this, you should be able to do that, this method with that. So to get started, you want your loop on your hook fairly snug, but still be able to move it up and down. And we're going to just pull up a loop. We're going to go on the next stitch and pull up a loop. We're not going to work it off our hook, and we're going to continue to pull up as many loops as we can on our original hook. So if you do not like this method, certainly feel free to just sew the hole closed. But I like the way this looks. It's a nice, neat finish. So as I said, just pull up as many loops as you can on your original hook. I think I can do 1 more. So now I'm going to grab my second hook. So here we go. It's an eye hook. And I don't suggest using, I use one, if it's just 1 size bigger, that's probably okay, but not 2 sizes bigger. Okay, so we're going to insert our second hook into the next stitch. And we're going to continue to pull up loops on the next one. And I probably can just use the 2 hooks. If you want to grab a third one, if this is just too fiddly for you, you can certainly feel free to grab that third hook. Go in that one there. Okay, so we've got all of our loops on our 2 hooks. Now we need to work these off. So what we're going to be doing is just working a giant slip stitch all around these loops. So you're going to yarn over and just carefully work these off. You can do 1 or 2 at a time. You can use your thumb and index finger to help you pull them off. Okay, so I have this loop. I'm going to put it over the other hook. Set that one aside. We don't need it anymore. Okay, you want to pull that kind of tight on your hook, that loop. You don't want it loosey-goosey, and you're just going to continue to pull off your loops. Now you could do 2. I wouldn't suggest to just fly through it, because if you miss one, then you have to start over, and you don't want to do that. Okay, and then once you're done, you're going to cut your yarn. So you'll thread that through, give her a pull, and you have a nice clean hole. So what I like to do, because sometimes there's just like a little bubble there, I just take my hook, put it inside the hat, and then poke it through the center of that on the hole in the top, and you're just going to pull that loop or that tail through, and you give it a nice tug inside the hat, and that usually, yep, takes care of that little loop, and now you have a really nice clean finish there. So what you want to do to finish this guy up is you will of course want to weave in any loose ends. If you need to block your hat, you certainly can feel free to do that. Add a pom-pom, buttons, tags, whatever you want to do to personalize your hat, and you're all set to go. So as you can see, the nice thing with this hat is it's pretty seamless here. You can't really, so let's focus. I got a fuzzy on there. That's not the personalization I want. So you can't really see where we joined, which is the nice thing, because if we look at the bottom, there it is here where we started, and we just kept moving over and over and over. But I hope you enjoyed this project.